folks, this is Stan Werbin here at Elderly Instruments in Lansing, Michigan. We've got a guitar to talk about here that's really special today. It's just something that you never see. The guitar that we have here is a 1941 Martin D-28. The model number labeled inside is D-28 LS. Now, the S, generally speaking, when Martin did that in the old days, it meant a special order of some sort. And there's a lot of special things about this guitar. The most unique, in some ways, is that it has that L on the designation as well, which means that it's left-handed. And we've had, a small number of left-handed pre-war Martin guitars, but not a D-28. And the D-28 being the special instrument that it is, that makes this very unique. So we checked with Martin Records, and as far as we can tell, as far as anybody can tell so far, there is only one pre-war Martin D-28 that's left-handed, and this is it. If you're left-handed and you want a left-handed D-28, you cannot get a pre-war one. Now, these are very expensive guitars, pre-war Martins, because of the general scarcity of the D-28, of the pre-war D-28, and the extraordinary sound that it puts out. As many of you know, with time, the wood dries out, the guitar settles in, everything about it gets better. Beginning right away, in the 1940s, the Martin D-28 was kind of the go-to guitar for a lot of musicians, especially in the country world, country and bluegrass. Now, the man who ordered the guitar's name was Lefty Booker, and Lefty was a regional country artist. I shouldn't say singer, because we're not sure if he sang or not. There were two guitar players in the band. He was the left-handed guitar player. Somebody else was the right-handed guitar player. One for each side of the bandstand, I guess. The name of the band that Lefty was generally in for much of his career was called Happy Johnny and His Radio Gang. Apparently a good regional band that toured around in Baltimore, in Pennsylvania, apparently as far reaching as Iowa they went. From the 1930s on into the 50s or 60s, there's a lot of memorabilia that the family has. Newspaper articles and photos. I love stuff like that, historical kind of information about where has this guitar been. It's still in the family of the original owner. They're at the point where they're willing to let it go. And so here we have it. There are a number of other special things about this guitar. When you look at this guitar, almost the first thing you see, besides the fact that it's left-handed, is that the peghead is very unusual looking for a Martin guitar. First thought, something happened to the peghead and they put a new peghead on it. Not true. In the Martin records, this is listed as having a specially designed peghead, as well as special spacing for the tuners, because the owner, at least the music store that ordered it, the owner requested the special spacing with the idea that they had special tuners to put on this guitar. Now, those tuners are now gone normally Martin dreadnoughts and all Martin guitars from that period, and even from this period, have got kind of a squared off peg head here. And this has got a little mustache kind of thing going on here at the top. The question is why? And the answer is that it just got special ordered that way. Maybe the owner wanted it that way. Maybe it was the regular squared off peg head wouldn't work in some ways for this new tuning spacing, which is not that far off from regular tuners, I might add. But anyway, so that's the unusual thing about this. And the other, once you realize that this is original, you look at it and you say, you know, that kind of looks like a Martin mandolin peg head from early in the 1900s. So that's what we think was the idea behind this peg head shape. It has newer tuners on it because our anticipation is that at some point along the way, and here's kind of the worst thing, I hate to say worse things about guitars like this, but at some point along the way, this guitar, the peg head broke off, or at least mostly cracked. So that if you look at it closely, and I'm sure we'll have good photos of this, you'll see that you see a crack in this general area where my fingers are pointing here. And it was obviously repaired. It was repaired solidly, let me put it that way, but it was not, nobody made any kind of attempt to disguise the repair as might happen when a peg head breaks these days. So moving on down the neck, it has for a pre-war neck, it's relatively slim, but there's no sign that it was shaved down in any way. You know, it's just a nice, comfortable pre-war neck. Moving down the body, we see a pretty well-preserved body in the sense that there's a fair bit of pick wear down in this area here, and there was even a little piece of the sound hole interior of the wood here that was broken off, and our repair shop replaced that. I think if you looked, you probably wouldn't ever know that it had been replaced. So it's got, of course, a left-handed pickguard, a left-handed bridge, which, by the way, is a new bridge that we put on it because the bridge that came on it when we got the guitar had been thinned down to lower the action, which is not the best way to do it. And so we put a new bridge on the guitar, a perfect replica of a pre-war bridge. The interior bracing, of course, is left-handed, reverse of a normal right-handed Martin D-28. There's the pick wear here. There's some, I don't know, some kind of heat rash a little bit over here where my thumb is kind of going there. There's a little bit of it looks like the previous bridge had been off it. The back of the guitar has a fair bit of belt buckle, what we would usually think of as belt buckle rash, in the area where it's hitting the belt, where the guitar is hitting the belt buckle. And again, there's just an assortment of scratches and dings. It's not, we'd probably call this very good condition as opposed to anything that looks like excellent. It's not, certainly doesn't look new, but it looks well used and loved. There's an assortment of small cracks on the guitar, all of which have been repaired. I'm not sure if we repaired them all. I think we repaired several of them at least. There's one crack in this area right here behind the bridge. It's a very fine crack. It's been glued up and cleated, I believe. There are several back and side cracks. There's one thing going over here that's pretty obvious to me, and I believe there are 2 or 3 on the sides, very small ones. This is what was obviously a pickup jack hole that was put in the guitar whenever Lefty got around to putting a pickup on it, probably in the 50s or so. And this hole got put in it. Now we talked about, do we want to plug this hole, or do we want to just leave it the way it is? Our choice has been, at Elderly, was to leave it the way it is. We left it the way it is for two reasons. One is that whoever gets it may want to put a pickup of their own in it, and there's the place to put the pickup jack. And you can always make the hole by the end pin larger and put a pickup jack in there. But that's altering it more. It's already altered here. It doesn't hurt the sound. It doesn't do anything. It's barely noticeable. Not for a guitar that we would call in very good condition. So it doesn't really need to be done. But that would be the choice of whoever winds up with the guitar. So all things considered, for a guitar of this age, it's been well loved. A guitar that has seen a lot of use, and it's a guitar that will probably last some family another 100 years or 200 years or maybe even 300 years. And it's going to sound great, and it's going to even probably sound better with time. Hard to say, because this is as good a sounding Martin guitar or any flat top guitar as you're ever going to play.